Okay, so we're sorry to keep you on pins and needles for an entire week. Actually, no, we're not. That's kind of fun. But we are really excited to tell you about this new opportunity that you've been hearing about. Here's the deal. About 2 months ago, the staff of Renew Church were approached by a member of our church in regard to a property that they own. This individual is involved in real estate and owns a property at the Burnhamthorpe, Erin Parkway area where I'm standing right now in the house. And this individual approached us with an offer saying that God was leading him, as opposed to just flipping this property, to see it used for ministry, existing church ministry, and also to reach out into this neighborhood. We're just minutes away from walking to the University of Toronto campus, and they even thought that maybe that would be an opportunity for us. So this generous person wanted to see us find a family that could move right here into this house and reach out into this neighborhood and do ministry right here out of this property. That was the vision. Now here's the best part. It would actually be free to us, apart from a small rental amount and covering the cost of utilities. It would be free to Renew Church as long as we were fulfilling those purposes of accomplishing ministry here in the neighborhood. Well, we were blown away with this offer. It was extremely generous, and we started to look right away and to pray about who could actually move in here and start to make use of this house for those intended purposes. You know, one of the things that we've talked about on staff for quite a while now is how can we actually get more interns in our movement? We're going to need more interns that grow up into leaders that can go out and start the new campuses that we're trying to start. And one of the things that we talked about is how can we house them and actually have them here? And so we started to think about that. We started to recognize immediately all of the great ministry that could happen right here. Existing ministries that we do, like youth ministry, like young adults, other ministries in the church that could come and make use of this space for all of these different purposes, all kinds of different ministries, and even for hosting ministry teams that come to us from other places that we have here regularly at Renew Church. The sky was the limit. Well, we prayed. At the time, many of us just couldn't see ourselves moving in here, leaving our own neighborhoods to come into this house. And so we really scratched our heads and said, who would be the right person to get to come here? And right around that time, Andrew and Ashton Wood started to get really interested, started feeling God leading them into coming to this house. They started to see a vision for what God could do here. I'm going to come back here in a few minutes and discuss logistics with you, but right now I actually want to hand things over to Pastor Andrew, who's going to tell you about the vision that God has given to him and Ashton for the use of this space. You're going to find it really exciting.
Ashton and I approached this opportunity very hesitantly. We loved the home that we were in. We say all the time, if we had the money to buy a home, we would have bought the home we were in. We really, really loved that space. We really enjoyed being in the Mayfield West community and serving missionally alongside of other people from Renew Church in that community. There was nothing about living there that we weren't happy about or excited about. And just as a side note, we will still be at the Mayfield West Church moving forward. That's where we'll be on Sunday mornings, and we'll continue to serve alongside the team there in Mayfield West, the same capacity that we have been serving there. The approach we took with this opportunity is that we kind of sat back and waited to see what God would do with this house. If he would bring a family from outside our movement into our movement that could live in this space, whether God would bring somebody up from the States or from somewhere else internationally that we could provide them with a space to live, or whether it was another family within the ministry that we could invite to live in this house. We waited to see what God would do with it and if he had plans for somebody else or another family to occupy the space. And as you've heard, that didn't really happen. Nothing that came up really made a whole lot of sense. While we waited to see what God would do, our vision for this space started to grow stronger and start to grow bigger. We had so much vision for this space, and whether it was us living here or another family living here, we got really, really excited about the opportunities with a space like this. As our vision started to grow, other things in our personal life started to change as well, things that were totally out of our control. And so we saw those as maybe confirmations that this is actually something God opened up for us and something that he was pulling us into. And so the next day, I went to my office and I wrote a 5-page proposal about what we can see God doing with and through this space, and we started to pursue it full on at that point. Some of the primary things that we could see this space being used for were things that we were already doing, like youth and young adults ministry. Many of you guys know that Ash and I live up in Caledon, and there's a few youth and young adults up there, but most of them are in the Mississauga and the Milton area. And so as awesome as it's been having people over in our home up there, it's quite inaccessible for a lot of the youth and the young adults. We've also started to outgrow that space. The group has been growing, the youth, we're averaging 40 people on Tuesday nights for youth, and our young adults start to outgrow our basement there in Caledon. This much larger space offers us opportunities to host larger groups and larger gatherings on a more consistent basis in a place that's more central to the majority of our youth and our young adults. Some of you guys know that over the last 20 years of ministry here, we've had teams come up from the States annually, whether it's the Great Canadian Adventure or groups from Grace College or groups from other churches coming up for a weekend trip or a week-long missions trip. We've had amazing groups who've come up over the years and served us in ministry here in the GTA. In the past, we've hosted teams in hotels, but having this kind of space gives us the opportunity to host them in our home. We could host between 15 and 25 people here on any given night for ministry trips and ministry teams that come up to serve us in the ministry here at Renewed Church in the GTA. Another opportunity this house affords us is leadership training and equipping opportunities. We've started a few new programs in our youth for leadership training and our youth leaders leadership training, and we would love to host those gatherings in our home. Unfortunately, our home's a little far out and it really isn't set up for large leadership training gatherings, but this home is perfectly set up for things like that. We're excited to host interns and be able to live life and do life alongside of interns that are serving us in our church and be able to invest life into them on a daily basis. We're so excited about all the other opportunities that we have with a multi-use space like it, whether it's English cafe or tea parties, whether it's baptisms in the pool in the backyard, or other Renew groups wanting to have a larger space to meet or have a party in the summer. All these kinds of opportunities is what this space is going to be used for. And the unique thing about it is that nobody's imposing on somebody's space. This is our space as a church. And we're just excited to host people and be hospitable. One of the really exciting things is that we already have renters for the basement, which is going to allow us to cover the cost of utilities on the house. As well, these renters who are going to be in the basement are already connected to what we're doing at Renewed Church. They actually serve at a high capacity already, and so they're just really excited to serve alongside us here at the ministry house, but as well in the ministries that they're already committed to. Some of you may not know that Ashton used to be a resident director at a school in Indiana, and her primary job was to mentor, disciple, and equip a group of university-age leaders in the context of living in community together. Ashton is perfectly suited and gifted for this kind of role, and her excitement about using her gifts and her experience to further the kingdom of God here in the GTA is what gets me more excited than anything else.
So as you can see, we've been presented with an amazing opportunity, one that incurs no financial risk to the church whatsoever, other than the cost that it will take to furnish this very large house. And that's what I want to talk to you about right now. Today we are officially launching a mini capital campaign, the Renew Ministry House campaign. Now, we've actually done a number of giving campaigns through the history of our church over the years, but maybe you're newer to Renew Church and you weren't around when we did that. So let me explain how this works. We need to raise around $25,000 to furnish the house properly. And in our entire church, all campuses together, we have probably around 110, maybe 120 giving units. A giving unit is a person or family who gives regularly to the church. Often they have an envelope that they use to give and a number assigned to them. If we can get everyone to participate in this, really it works out to about $250 per giving unit in order to see that accomplished. We have a number of things that need to get done here in this house. We need to furnish all of the rooms, and it is a big house. And there's also some work in the basement that needs to get done to prepare it for someone to rent that space, some work on the bathroom and so on. I've done a number of these campaigns over the years, and honestly, this is the easiest ask of any campaign that I've ever had to do before. And I think that you're going to be quickly very enthusiastic, just like I am, about this. You see, this is not going to be a drawn-out campaign with foggy outcomes. This is something that we can do quickly, that we can do easily. I think we can get it finished by the end of April, and we can collect this money that we need and really get this thing done. You know, I am personally really excited about this. I'm looking at this and saying, this is easy. My wife and I, we live very tightly. We don't have a lot of extra money, but even we can come up with more than that amount of that $250 if we all, averaged it all out. We could easily come up with that, and we will go beyond that as a couple to see this done. Even in a short period of time, we can figure out a way to come up with that money. And some of you may be in a place where you find that hard to attain right at this moment, and that's fine. You can give what you can. Others of you, I know you're in a position where you could give many times over that amount to this project if God so leads. So we're asking you to really pray and ask God to show you what he would have you contribute to this. We're not looking for equal gifts. We're looking for equal sacrifice. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to picture your kids here in this house having fun with their friends, making use of the pool, eating hot dogs out by the barbecue. I want you to picture our young adults that are gathering here, not in a cold office somewhere, but in a natural space where they're drinking coffee together in a home-like environment, really experiencing life together and growing together in their faith. I want you to picture all of the different ministry groups and Renew groups that could be meeting here in this space, the other activities that go on in Renew Church that could take place here. I want you to picture us getting young leaders that are growing, living in community together around this facility and growing up that we can be using to fuel the movement that God has led us to and starting new campuses throughout the GTA. All of this can happen by using this amazing space. I actually believe that God may be using this project to show us a whole new strategy that we hadn't considered before as it comes to reaching the GTA with new churches. I want to be clear, Cambridge is still our next project. For any of you from the Cambridge campus that's forming, you are still the next ones. That is still the next thing that we are doing. But God is showing us, I think, the way of the future when it comes to how we reach into the communities. We've been down the path of expensive buildings and leases and all of these things. And God has really led us back to this path of life-on-life missional engagement. And I can tell you, this just feels right, being in a house like this and facilitating ministry in this environment for the way that God's been leading us over the last number of months. You need to see this opportunity for what it is. It is an amazing gift. God has really teed it up for us. For us not to take advantage of this gift that's being offered to us would not just be looking a gift horse in the mouth, it would be like punching the gift horse in the mouth. We've even taken this to the elders who are typically very conservative when it comes to these kinds of things, and they've looked at it and said, yeah, we're 100% behind this. There's really no risk to the church. It's just all opportunity. At the end of today's service, as you are leaving, you are going to receive a packet that you can take home with you. It has all of the details that you need to know about the campaign, including a pledge card and donation envelopes. You will get that as you are leaving. I encourage you, take that home with you, look it all through, read it really well, and then start to prayerfully consider what God would have you do to contribute to this campaign. Let's have Andrew come and tell us about some opportunities that you can have to come and actually see this property. Andrew, tell us about it.
So we have one of two open houses that you guys can actually come to. One is on Saturday, April the 8th, and one is Sunday, April the 9th. Both of them are from 3 o'clock to 6 o'clock p.m. We'll provide a free barbecue for both of those, and we'll be doing guided tours of the house from on 3:30 and also at 4:30. And so make sure you're here for one of those two things so that you can walk around the home and you can hear the vision for each of the spaces.
Awesome. Kids are welcome, so bring the kids out. It's going to be a good time. Thank you guys very much for hearing us out on this today. Prayerfully consider the things that we've talked to you about. We will be in touch with you about it. We're really humbled by the things that God has been bringing to us, and we just really want to do this together as a team with God's leading. Thanks a lot.